Alright, let's dive into something that's been making waves in the media world, ProSiebenSat.1's recent financial report. Now, if you're not familiar, ProSiebenSat.1 is a major German broadcaster, and their latest numbers are a real eye-opener. Here's the hook: their revenue dropped by 9% in the first half of the year. But before you jump to conclusions, there's a lot more to this story than meets the eye. Personally, I think this is a perfect example of how traditional media is navigating a rapidly changing landscape. What makes this really interesting is that it's not just about one company's struggles, it's a reflection of broader trends in the industry. So, what's going on here? ProSiebenSat.1 is blaming a few factors: disposals, a declining TV advertising market, and the fact that their competitors had the rights to the Soccer World Cup. Now, let's break this down. First, the TV advertising market has been on a downward spiral for a while now. If you take a step back and think about it, this isn't surprising. With streaming platforms dominating the scene, traditional TV is losing its grip. What many people don't realize is that this shift isn't just about viewer preferences, it's about where advertisers are putting their money. And right now, they're not putting it into linear TV. But here's where it gets even more fascinating: the World Cup factor. ProSiebenSat.1's rivals had the broadcasting rights, which means they likely siphoned off a significant chunk of ad revenue. In my opinion, this highlights a bigger issue: the cutthroat competition for premium content. If you don't have the rights to major events like the World Cup, you're at a massive disadvantage. This raises a deeper question: how sustainable is the traditional broadcasting model when you're constantly outbid for the content that drives viewership? Now, let's talk about what ProSiebenSat.1 is doing to adapt. They're pivoting to digital, and their streaming service, Joyn, is seeing an uptick in both AVOD and SVOD revenue. From my perspective, this is a smart move. Streaming is where the audience is, and it's where the money is increasingly flowing. But here's the thing: it's not enough to just launch a streaming service. You need to have the right content, the right strategy, and the right audience engagement. A detail I find fascinating is how they're managing costs. They've slashed programming expenses by changing how they amortize content costs, and personnel costs are down significantly too. What this really suggests is that they're tightening their belts while trying to pivot. Despite the revenue drop, ProSiebenSat.1 posted an EBITDA profit of €124 million. On the surface, that's impressive. They're making money even in a tough market. But here's my take: this profit is largely due to cost-cutting, not revenue growth. And that's not a sustainable long-term strategy. In my opinion, they need to focus on driving revenue through digital innovation, not just trimming the fat. The CEO, Marco Giordani, talks about targeted investments in the future, but the proof will be in the pudding. Are they investing enough in the right areas? That's the million-dollar question. If you take a step back and think about it, ProSiebenSat.1's situation is a microcosm of the media industry's challenges. Traditional players are being forced to reinvent themselves, but it's not an easy transition. What makes this really interesting is how their story could play out for other broadcasters globally. Are we seeing the beginning of the end for linear TV, or is there still a place for it in a streaming-dominated world? Personally, I think the answer lies in how well companies like ProSiebenSat.1 can balance their legacy business with their digital ambitions. So, here's my closing thought: ProSiebenSat.1's financial report isn't just a snapshot of one company's struggles, it's a window into the future of media. The decline in TV advertising, the battle for premium content, the pivot to digital, these are trends that every broadcaster is grappling with. What this really suggests is that the next few years are going to be make or break for traditional media. And as someone who's been watching this space closely, I can tell you it's going to be a wild ride. What do you think? Is traditional TV doomed, or is there still a fighting chance? Let me know in the comments below.